I'm joined here today on LBC by Michela Morizzo. You are the CEO of Tecna Italia. You do polling here both in the UK and also in Italy. We're here to talk about all of those things, but also the work that you also do with the Italian Prime Minister, Giorgia Meloni, and her party, Fratelli d'Italia. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about this today. I wondered if we could start our conversation by discussing the current state of polling in the UK. And obviously I know, and I've seen some of your work that you've done. It's fair to say that Keir Starmer and the Labour Party here not doing too well. What do you think that we can draw from the current state of the UK polls?
Thank you. First of all, for inviting me. It's really a pleasure joining you here. Well, yes, the current state of UK politics, it's not an easy moment for Keir Starmer. And our last tracker last week told us 17% for Labour, 30% for Reform UK, 19% of voting intention for the Conservative Party. And then we are seeing Greens rising around 15%. And what does it mean? It means that Labour Party is facing a difficult moment because of, above all, the approach Keir Starmer is demonstrating to the people, how and what is delivering or not delivering to the people. This means that after 1 year, less than 2 years in government, 17% is a very, very low voting intention percentage. It's very low, and this means what? This means that people are very much criticizing his approach. What people care about is what you do for them in terms of economy, what the government can deliver, how people can feel better in their daily life. And this means we are not happy, and people voting intentions are moving to other parties, as we can see. Like reform. At the moment, reform is, of course, in the opposition. It's not in power. But what does it mean? The data are showing an inner, subtle change in UK society. And this, can be a very important suggestion for Keir Starmer to change something, because it's obvious that it's not working.
Of course, he's had a very difficult few weeks here,
exactly.
Of course, in the political sphere.
Scandals, yes, exactly. Economic crisis, inflation rates, prices raising up. And on the other hand, regarding Reform UK, it's 30%. It's a stunning
pretty solidified,
result.
yeah.
Yes,
and they've run in basically, I think, something like 150 opinion polls, I think, so far in a row, that they've all been basically the lead in. Have you ever seen sort of an example of a political party that's been in power that's managed to return from such a low that we're seeing Keir Starmer in? Or do we think that now, if the polls stay the way they are, there's little chance of him being able to make a comeback to win another election? Or is that just not possible?
For Labour.
For Labour, yeah.
At the moment, it would be very difficult. If a general elections was held tomorrow, it would be really difficult for Labour to win again. Completely. Because I think that a good test will be the local elections in May.
Of course.
And after the local elections, depending on the results, but, a sort of earthquake could happen in UK politics, because if the local results will confirm Labour going down and Reform rising let's see how much, but rising. And this could mean a total change if a general elections would be held tomorrow.
And you've spoken before about how the way that the UK politics works doesn't really support what we're seeing in the polls with the different parties that we're seeing. The two-party consensus, we've been talking about this for many years. Is it over? Is it dead? It seems like you're talking about the rise of the Green Party, which many people are talking about. Many people are, young people especially, excited to see. On the other hand, you've got Reform, a very relatively new party doing so well. Is this the end of that two-party system? And it's a problem, isn't it? Because our system does not cater to five-party politics.
This is a very good question, because we all remember UK politics as a two-party political world, and it's really interesting because we as Italians are used at multi-party systems. Of course, too many political parties maybe in Italy, but now in the UK politics we see lots of parties rising, and that are not Labour, that are not Conservatives, and this can lead to a real change. But before, concerning the electoral law, which can be tricky, of course, with with lots of political parties, but it's a matter of mentality. Are UK voters ready to change their mentality to start thinking about coalitions, for example?
We've barely talked about that here in the UK since the coalition that we had between the Conservatives and the Lib Dems 2010 to 2015. Since then, it hasn't really entered much UK discussion or debate. And everybody, I think, expects most political parties still to win an outright majority. And if we look at the polls, if we look at Reform, at the moment, it looks like they might win a majority if indeed there was an election tomorrow.
Absolutely. But maybe with the first past the post system, this is not even enough. And they may need to be to create a coalition, to search for another support, and it's something, of course, in 2 years, more or less, you will have new general elections, maybe, if not before.
Yeah, it depends on when they call it.
Yeah, of course, yes. But in any case, there is enough time to work on that. And if I was Reform UK, I would start now thinking about the outcome after general elections and manage in advance, because people vote for a reason. It's not so ideological anymore. It's an economic vote. So in order to keep their 30% even much stronger in the coming months, two are the main priorities, according to my experience in other systems like Italy. First of all, the key points to be delivered on the economic side, and how to approach a potential change in the vision of people linked to politics. So is it politics linked only to a party or to a coalition, to enlarge your space? Because we will see another critical element here. Labour, that Labour voters at the last general elections voted Labour mostly because it was a sort of punishment against the Conservatives. Now, if they're not happy, they will go away from Labour, and what can happen? Greens rising, of course, but also Reform, because the two extremes sometimes matches in the middle. Yes, exactly. And or the third scenario can be the abstention will rise a lot. So, and this is not good at all. I call the abstention area as the another political party. Because you can find all these illusioned people that can see how the future for themselves and their families will be.
Yeah, and we're already seeing quite a lot of it, and you already see in most UK elections the sort of turnout and the people who vote, some 65% or so. So there is a huge amount of people that do not vote. I just wanted to also ask you, obviously your experience working with the Italian government, if we compare Keir Starmer and how he's doing, he's only 18 months in, and Giorgia Meloni is a lot further in. She's 4 years into her term now, and she is obviously doing incredibly well. She's on 46% approval rating according to some. What's her secret? What on earth is she doing so right? What can Keir Starmer learn?
It's incredible, also for Italy, because I've really never seen a prime minister reaching 46% and maintaining 46% positive ratings after 3 years and a half in government. Because normally, the first months are honeymoon, and then
exactly. Keir Starmer was doing pretty okay for the first 6 months, and then that started to drop.
But it's been but the reason why, Giorgia Meloni's secret is she has a strong coalition. All the three parties of the coalition perform well. And this is good because, of course, in Italy, the coalition wins. Fratelli d'Italia is the strongest party within the coalition, but she found the right allies.
The right balance, yeah.
The right balance between the right and the more moderate center-right, with Forza Italia, for example. They are performing, she's performing together with our Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Foreign Affairs, Tajani, at an international level. So our rating, the Italian rating in managing international crisis has been rising so much during the last years, and people do appreciate a lot. Giorgia Meloni studies really very much. She is, it's a ongoing apprenticeship, I would say.
Growth.
She never stops being well prepared on every dossier, on every topic she talks about. She is never general. She goes in deep, whether economy, whether safety, healthcare, or and no matter what, but she always keeps studying and studying and studying. And this is a secret, because people may not agree to everything she says, but everyone knows exactly where she stands.
And is there anything that, like I say, Keir Starmer could learn from her approach to governing, or is it too dissimilar, like the situations and the two systems that we have are quite different? So is anything that he could learn from her presidential style?
Well, of course, the two systems are different, and of course, Keir Starmer is left wing. So of course, maybe priority or backgrounds are completely different. But if I was the UK Prime Minister, now it's the time for a strong change. I mean, the government and Keir Starmer, starting from the Prime Minister, of course, have to really understand what people are asking him. People want to be heard. And this is what Giorgia Meloni perfectly understood since the beginning in 2022.
And what are the main issues of sort of importance to Italian voters? Do they share a similar concern for the economy? Obviously, migration is one that we talk about here in the UK, and obviously previous Prime Ministers, Rishi Sunak, famously had quite a good relationship with Meloni on migration. Is that sort of the issues that she is seen as doing well on the home front?
Yes, the list is absolutely perfect. People are always concerned for economy. At the moment in Italy, thanks to the government, economy is performing well. So many indicators have improved a lot during the last 3 years. So this is a big result, positive result. Migration is a big issue in Italy, and one of the most difficult to solve. But Giorgia Meloni is very straightforward regarding migration, and with an approach where the home country of the migrants arriving to Italy has to be taken care of. So she wants to enhance and development in their home country and try to avoid massive migration.
The upstream,
Yes. Italy is very difficult because of, the peninsula location is in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, so it's quite close to Africa. So it's a very difficult matter. But what I can tell, and that I can see also in the UK, people care really a lot about economy and about safety. So safety in Italy also is an issue.
Feels like it's an issue here as well, actually, in London, and especially in the UK more widely.
Yeah.
And what can you tell us about the sort of data, the insights, the polling that is used by your company, by the government, by the parties in Italy? What do they use that information for? Does it help shape what they're doing on a day-to-day basis? Because I think we talk a lot about polls here. I don't know how much politicians really use that data, that insights, that sort of case study to sort of inform what's going on. And there was a rise of it, I think, in sort of like the 80s and 90s with the Labour Party in particular, when on their route back to power, started using a lot of polls and a lot of insights. What can you share about how your work gets used in government? What do they do? What do they look at?
Well, data are fundamental, but we have to think about the fact that they don't have a therapeutic function. They provide information, and information is the basis to plan the future. We don't add or intervene, absolutely not, in political decision, in policy making. But if you have good and robust information, you have all the tools, and so that you can plan and decide what is better. And regarding demographics, regarding social issues, thinking about healthcare system, economy, or the attitude and how the mentality is changing towards certain topics. And this is what we do for the Italian government. We provide information, lots and lots of information. For example, in end of March, we will have a very big referendum in Italy that will change our constitution and the system of justice. And it's a big moment for Italian politics. And what we are doing is providing all the data and all the information to the government in order to give them the most robust insights, and then it's up to them to decide which kind of way to follow.
They're going to go.
And yes, exactly, because it's important to analyze the sentiment of the public opinion. It's perfect, but we go much deeper. We go in what the subtle.
Yeah, the sentiment, the feeling, the emotions.
Exactly, and what the most important thing is to highlight what is deeply changing in the inner society that you don't still see openly, but it's something that will maybe change in 6 months, in 12 months, and the more you are able to anticipate
get ahead of the game.
Yes, you win the game, yes.
And just finally, coming back to UK politics, do you think Nigel Farage is going to become the next Prime Minister if the polls are right?
Well, who knows? A long way to go before general elections, but for sure, I can say that Reform UK can be compared in some way to our five-star movements. When five-star movements raised, and reached around 40%. It was an incredible result at the time. And what does it mean? Both parties were attractive five-star movements, and Reform UK now is so attractive because they capture the disillusionment of people, unhappiness, the fears, and this is a very good way to start, because this means that they are using the right topics and they're working on the right issues. The challenges comes the moment you have to deliver.
Yeah. So what can they do as a party to smooth that transition for a potential government in the way that the five-star movement did?
Rules and the economy rules. Competence, I mean, one of the biggest mistake in Italy for five-star movements has been not to put experienced politicians, experienced people, so well prepared, or something with a strong background. So I see that, many people are just moving from other parties to Reform, and this means that a good base of experienced people is building the party, because the party has to build its own vision, its own strategy, and its own organization. This is absolutely key in order to give a long-term future and not being simply a phase.
Yes.
Because now people, the labor rating are so low, it's easy to grow.
Exactly. The next part is going to be the hard part.
Next step is the most important one, is to keep these 30% stuck for the coming 2 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting time, both in UK and Italian politics. Michela, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.